How can someone be predisposed to an authoritarian personality? Why do conservatives and liberals disagree constantly? These are the questions broken down and answered by political psychologists. There really is no determined time which we can pinpoint as the beginning of political psychology. Like most subjects, it is full of conflicts and thinkers with no one same definition of political psychology. This timeline is an attempt to piece together the major events, theories, and thinkers that have led to the interest of applying psychology to the world of politics. Phase 1. Philosophy. Politics is ancient, so diving straight into psychology, which is less than 200 years old, just won't cut it. A good starting place is philosophy. After all, philosophy is considered to be the grandfather of psychology. In 59 BC, Livy was born and wrote the histories of ancient Rome and its emperors. We also have Aristotle in 384 BC, the renowned philosopher who delved into political theory. Much later, in 1532, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote the controversial treatise named The Prince about holding on to power. In 1762, Rousseau was one of the political theorists that helped ignite the spark for the French Revolution. Quentin Skinner in our time has done a thorough description of showing us the world of political philosophy. Combining the inscriptions from Rome and the Renaissance political essays, we have the political part, now we just need the psychology part. Phase 2. Foundations of psychology. Before political psychology was formed, of course psychology had to form itself. You can view the development of psychology as one thinker coming along with an idea, then another thinker replacing that idea with another idea, sort of becoming a succession of progressive disagreements. This phase starts in 1880, where most psychologists award Wilhelm Wundt for opening the first psychology laboratory to research psychophysics. Later on in 1908, Sigmund Freud and others established the Psychoanalytic Association of Vienna. This began the reign of psychoanalysis, associated with a bearded man and a cigar sitting behind a couch talking about sex and dreams. In 1914, World War I occurred. This led to the psychological discovery of shell shock, where soldiers from the trenches were traumatized from their experience. Research methods at this time were analytical, qualitative, and long. The next field to move on from Freud's psychoanalysis was a dog. Well, to be more specific, Pavlov's dog, where thinkers like B.F. Skinner and Watson theorized behaviorism. This is where ideas like positive reinforcement come from. In 1939, World War II happened, where political ideologies like fascism and communism tore the world apart. This would become a great inspiration for future psychology studies. Among these famous studies was Stanley Milgram and his study on obedience. In curiosity of the atrocities committed during World War II, Milgram hooked participants up to a fake machine to see how much pain via electric shocks they would administer to someone. Before stopping under the observation of an authority figure, the results were monumental, showing how authority can deeply influence the best of us. Eventually, during the 1950s, after a history of psychology being dominated by psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and unethical studies, the cognitive revolution happened, turning research methods to more statistical, quantitative analyses and the emergence of cognitive psychology, biological measurements, and neuroscience. Psychology here is certainly becoming more scientific, breaking away from its more philosophical roots. From all of these different and evolving ideas, personality psychology was founded, which started to look into individuals' traits and characteristics, investigating how the fragments of personality can help in our prediction and understanding of human behaviour. It also created the famous Big Five personality theory. This is where political psychology would find its home. Phase 3. Political psychology. So after a very long history of ancient Romans, Italian and French Renaissance political theorists, and the complicated rise of psychology, we finally get political psychology. In comparison to the history we have just covered, political psychology can seem quite small. Althusser in 1981 created the right-wing authoritarian measurement. Revised from the California fascism measurement, This measured authoritarian submission, not questioning the moral authority, authoritarian aggression, directed aggression approved by the authority, and conventional, preference to conventional traditional values, consisting of what Altheimer called the authoritarian personality. The study of authoritarian characters from the 20th century became of keen interest to political psychologists. It was with thinkers like Jonathan Haidt who started to apply political psychology to the study of conservatives and liberals and the differences between them. We learnt conservatives are associated with trait conscientiousness and liberals are associated with trait openness. Other psychologists continued with many contributions to political psychology. The famous clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson researched how conservatives are religious, which helps explain their favour of tradition and the link between liberals and spiritualism. Political psychology has helped our understanding of why conservatives protested immigration where liberals advocated it during the EU refugee crisis. Before, when we talked about Machiavellian philosophy, this has become a personality trait inside the dark triad theory, where Machiavellian individuals are not open and thus weary of intergroup threats. We see how the philosophical has become psychological, but in recent times the psychological has become the biological. It is well understood in personality psychology that traits are predetermined by genetic factors. If this is to be the case, some researchers have prioritized investigating not the relationship between traits and political attitudes, but the relationship between genetics and political attitudes, arguing political attitudes are more to do with genetics than psychology. The future. As we know, political psychology is in its youth when we compare it against the history of political philosophy and the rocky emergence of psychology. What can be said about political psychology is that it is an established, interesting field, where we can learn about the personalities of old authoritarian leaders and the average political citizen in the 21st century. Political psychology could continue its psychological analysis, or it might begin to adopt more biological arguments. It could even bring about a return to its philosophical roots. If there is anything we have learned about a history of psychology and the emergence of political psychology, is that a new idea could easily appear and replace everything we already know. But that is just the nature of scientific investigation. Our knowledge and research continues to develop and change. If you like this animation, have a browse at the previous project on this channel where you can learn more about the differences between conservatives and liberals. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and as usual, all references are included below, including a link to a digital poster that shows the development of political psychology as seen in this animation. Thank you.